And we alive. What's good, Josh? Your man DL Saint. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I really want no podcast, man. I was planning to do a show today, earlier today. We were gonna talk about some red pill stuff, right? Different types of approaches and the different types of ways to meet women or whatever. I was gonna do that, but I managed to hurt my shoulder. I'm injured, guys. I'm really injured right now. Like my shoulder is messed up, and just kind of getting through the pain, waiting for everything to kind of all the swelling and stuff to go down, and then I'll find out what's going on with that later. But so I was resting, and and then I saw the news of what's going on in Kansas City right now, man. So we definitely, I don't care, hurt or not, we got to talk about it. So let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. So yeah, let's definitely get into it. Miss AKA ladies in the building. I'm gonna be real slow on the buttons, guys, because I only have one arm. All right. I can't I can't lift my arm to touch these buttons, but Miss AKA ladies in the building. What's good, sis? My left shoulder is messed up. I don't know if I just got some damage to the nerves. Maybe I stretched something the wrong way, pulled or tore something. The shoulder works. It didn't come out of the socket, so it's not a dislocation. So that's good. But boy, oh boy, it hurts. Miss AKA lady, quick stop by to say, hey, y'all, what's good, girl? How you feeling? We're definitely gonna talk about this, man. It's just, man, it's just so sad. It's sad, but this is the world we live in, man. This is what it is, man. And I'm definitely gonna let me do this now. I'm gonna pin the link. I'm gonna pin the link below. If anybody wants to jump in, we're just gonna have an open conversation about what's going on in America right now with respect to guns and stuff like that. Brother Grios, like make sure you take care of your health. Oh yeah, absolutely, man. But I will do that, bro. Definitely. And shout out to you, bro. And it is what it is, man. Like sometimes, especially I think maybe I did something in my sleep, or maybe I was doing something. I injured myself a while ago, and it just took a while for it to get to this point. But I mean, I'm good. Like it's call me walking wounded, call me whatever. I'm good. And as you can see, we got the link pinned below. If anybody wants to jump in at any point where we're talking about we're having this conversation, you're more than welcome. I definitely want to hear what you have to say. Even those who don't live in America, you guys are curious as to why America is the way it is with respect to our rights, our constitutional rights to bear arms, the laws and stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people out there who have legit questions. They just don't understand. Like, wouldn't it just make sense to take away all the guns from everybody? Um, no, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's like we have more guns than people in this country. So even if you tried to change the laws of it, like there's always a push to restrict and all this. It's just so many weapons out here. There are so many weapons in America, legally manufactured weapons, and people don't even understand. So hold on one second. You might be on your own, kiddo. My arm's messed up. Yeah, I got to open something for my daughter, even though I'm messed up. That hurt. Still got to do daddy stuff. Um. Oh man. So no, it wouldn't make sense in my opinion. It's just too many weapons here. Is at this point, there's no way to really police it. Um. You know, just the amount of known weapons, like legally. manufactured weapons that are more than people. And then we have ghost guns. We have weapons that have been put together. We have people who make weapons. Those boys out in the sticks, man, they'll just make weapons. There's people out here using 3D printers. They just recently there was an arrest made in New York with guys who were 3D printing weapons. So it's really difficult. Um, it's really difficult to change anything at this point. America is America. It is what it is. It's really difficult to change it at this point. And even when we look at what's going on today, this occurred with a sea of law enforcement already there. Like, they didn't have to show up. They were already there. So this is just one of those things. Appreciate that. Says, yeah, I would definitely get some heat and some ice. I really need some heat on this, I think. I'll get some heat and some ice. The challenge has been sleeping. That's been the challenge. I'm not one who likes to take a lot of pills and stuff like that. But even for this, I've been taking Tylenol. Like, I need to do this. Hurts. So, I'm just gonna give it one more day. If I don't feel an improvement by tomorrow, then I'll just go see my doctor. So yeah, let's pull this up. So here are the headlines coming from CNN. I just watched a quick thing. They had a press conference just a couple minutes ago on CNN, and that's where they got this information from. And this is reference to Kansas City parade shooting. So this was a parade for the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl. And in most cities, when your team wins a championship, there's a parade. There's always a big gathering. You don't care if it's basketball or baseball or hockey or football or soccer or whatever your sport may be, there's going to be a big celebration. This is common. But people aren't acting right. You always got that. And there's always huge police presence, heavy police presence, no matter where you are, wherever, what's going on. This is what the deal is. So Kansas City won the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. They beat the San Francisco 49ers in a really good game in overtime, almost double overtime. Did it actually go into the second quarter of overtime? I know the clock was running out. It might have slid over into the second quarter of overtime. On a brilliant drive, orchestrated by the Chiefs and led by Patrick Mahomes, one of the greatest quarterbacks that American football has ever produced. Great game. All that. They come home to do the parade, show off the trophy, let everyone come out and cheer. All the fans come out wearing their gear and stuff like that. So that's what's going on. That's the backdrop. That's what's going on. So and here are the headlines. One person dead, more than 20 wounded in shooting following the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Now, I don't know at what point when it happened. I don't know if the Chiefs came out and talked and showed off the trophy. I don't know. I heard stories that allegedly some Chief players were running around when all this happened, when people heard gunshots. Whenever there's a huge crowd and then someone starts shooting, I mean, it's just complete chaos. People oftentimes get trampled. People don't know what to do. It's just one of those things. And most folks haven't dealt with that sort of thing. There are people out here who know how to move under fire, trained military folks, law enforcement folks, and you got people from the hood, people from different, be it the ghetto, be it the trailer park, be it the barrio. Like, there's people who have been in these situations and they know how to move. And if you ever find yourself in one of these situations, first thing you want to do is seek cover. First thing you want to do, get down, and you really want to get behind something solid. Americans have some serious firepower these days. So you don't know what type of weapons are being fired, what type of bullets are being used. So you want to get down, you want to get behind something. You don't want to immediately just start running aimlessly. You don't know what you don't know. You could be running into the danger. You know what I mean? I'm no expert, right? But I've been in enough situations that share this information with you. Someone starts shooting. You want to get down. You want to get behind something. Like, if you can't get behind something, you definitely want to get down, and you want to scan. You need to find out who is shooting and what are they shooting at. And once you determine that, then you can get away from the situation. It does you no good to just start running headlong into the person with the weapon, right? So oftentimes when in a situation like this, people think, oh, active shooter. It may not be an active shooter. It might be a problem that one person has with a particular person, or a group has a problem with another group. So there's going to be someone firing, there's going to be someone returning fire. You don't want to run into that. You just don't. So you have to look around. So first thing you want to do is you want to get down, look around. You want to get behind something that's possible, something sturdy. You don't want to get behind a piece of cardboard, for instance. You want to get behind something sturdy. Vehicles are good. You want to get behind, cement or concrete barriers or something like that. You want to get behind something. And once you determine who has weapons and what they're firing at, who they're firing at, once you think you got an idea what's going on, then you want to, get yourself out of there, right? You want to move from cover to cover if possible. You want to stay as low as you possibly can, and you want to get up out of there. So those are just kind of, my thoughts for anyone who might find themselves in this type of situation. If you hear rounds going off, and most people don't even realize that shots are being fired, because contrary to popular belief, most Americans have not been shot at. Let's just keep it 100. Most Americans don't find themselves in these situations. The average American never seen anyone, you know, who's been hit by a firearm. They've never heard firearms outside of a gun range. Most Americans don't deal with this sort of thing. The people who deal with this, I mean, it is a small percentage. That's just me, giving my 2 cents. So, yeah. So let's get into that. Well, so CNN, what we're covering, one person has died after a shooting at the end of the celebration for the Super Bowl winning Chiefs in Kansas City, Missouri. Police Chief Stacey Graves said Wednesday 3 people have been detained as part of an ongoing investigation. She said, okay, so one person has been confirmed lost, and then there are a lot of people who are seriously, gravely injured. So this was, okay, it looks like it was after all the speeches. It was, the end of the celebration, it looks like. Um, and maybe the chief players that kind of came off the podium or the stage or whatever, and they were on their way, like, leaving. And then of course this is the part where the crowd is going to start to disperse and everybody starts heading for exits or whatever. Even though it's an outdoor event, normally they got you penned in with barriers and stuff like that. So you still got to go to access points. So maybe that's what was going on. They say 3 people have been detained. There's very little information on what's going on with this, guys. Very little. This information is just coming out, and they gather information, they put it out as they get it. At least 22 people had gunshot injuries. Graves said at the news conference some of the victims were children. The city's fire chief said an estimated 1 million people were in downtown Kansas City celebrating their team's back-to-back championships. And the area where the shooting took place was steps away from where the Chiefs had held victory rallies for thousands of fans after the parade took place. So, just think about that, man. It's like 1 million people down there. 1 million people in downtown Kansas, just kind of walking around. Everyone's wearing their jerseys. Everyone's feeling that kinship. Like, everyone was like, yeah, this is our town, our team, we won, kind of thing. Like, I've never been to these type celebrations. I've never been. And again, guys, my shoulder's hurting. So don't think that I'm like crying or anything like that. It's just my shoulder's hurting. That's why I'm kind of moving the way I'm moving. Sometimes sometimes the pain spikes. But I don't like big crowds for a bunch of reasons, right? Unfortunately, I fit into that small percentage of Americans who have been around, people shooting, and that's before I joined the military. So I'm not keen on going to big events, outdoor events, indoor events especially. I don't like that. Outdoor events, I don't like it. Millions of people, I'm not trying to do that. I was in LA when the Lakers were winning all kind of championships. That's when I was out there when Kobe and Shaq were on the team, and I mean Robert Ory was doing like that big win against Portland. I was at that game, as a matter of fact, that game 7. I don't do parades, man. Not like that. Not for sports events. I don't like doing parades, period. I'm just not good around a lot of people. I remember once we were at Freaknik. We were downtown Atlanta in the park. It was Piedmont Park. And I mean, this was back in the 90s. We saw everyone down there, and like, Tupac was in town. We didn't see him in the park, but Prime Time was there. Deion Sanders was walking around, man. We saw so many artists, rappers, and stuff. They were filming the video for Tootsie Roll that day. We had just walked past that, and we were young kids, man. This was 90, I think this was 94. We're in Freaknik, and it was some dudes from LA. They was with us. You could tell they were OGs, you know what I mean? They were straight G's, cool brothers. It was like kind of standing next to us. You know what I mean? I saw a bunch of G's, like we were from Cincinnati, it was like dudes we knew from the Natty. It was dudes we knew from like Kentucky and Tennessee, like all the players, man, all the hustlers was down there. And something was going on with this crowd, and it was thousands of people at the park. They were having a concert, so we were way away from the concert. We're right in the back of this area. And we couldn't tell what was going on, but we knew something was going on. And within a moment, just instantly, the crowd turns around and starts stampeding towards us. Just imagine, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of people running directly at us. And it's like, yo, what do you do? We're kind of looking at this, right? And all of a sudden, you hear gunshots ring out right where we were standing, you know what I mean? In quick succession, 5, maybe 6 rounds. And then that crowd ran a different direction. Now, I don't know who pulled out that weapon, and I'm pretty sure they weren't firing at people because no one was hit. It'd have been easy to hit somebody. Whoever that was probably saved our lives, because we would have definitely been trampled beneath the feet of all those people, because it was no, when people start stampeding, man, it's just like when cows or, different animals stampede, bro. And it's over for you, bro. You get trampled, you get crushed. And my theory was one of those LA gangsters pulled out his weapon and fired at the ground just to get that crowd to run a different direction, which was smart. I don't know what happened. I know for a fact that no one was injured, no one was hurt, no one, you know what I mean? Because it would have made the news or whatever. There was no, the police didn't come running in, and there was no tape or nothing like that. It was just a smart move by a dude who was like, we got a problem here. So, that was a weird afternoon, man. Because once the herd went one way, we went a different direction. And we saw some dude who had his shorts down. It was like he fell on top of a bunch of empty bottles, like those big old water containers that you have at the water coolers, a bunch of those. He was like laying on top of those. Lord knows what was going on with this dude. He had his shorts around his ankles, man. Had his underwear on, and he was like rolling on top of all these big things. As we were running, we were just looking like, what the hell is that about? But we just kept going, man. Like it was just the craziest thing. But whoever fired those shots saved us. 100% saved us. We would have been trampled. So I don't like big crowds. I've always been that way, man. I don't like big crowds. The older I've gotten, the less I like it. I don't like big crowds. I really don't like going to amusement parks. But of course, when you're a parent, you got to go to those things. It is what it is. You just deal with it. But I don't like that. I don't like that. So 1 million people downtown Kansas City celebrating their teams back-to-back championships, which is a serious accomplishment, especially in the NFL. And this was after everything was going on. So, and then of course you're going to have people making the statements like this: our thoughts are with the victims and everyone affected. And that's the NFL. That came from the NFL after the shootings. The National Football League issued a statement Wednesday following a deadly shooting that took place at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl celebrations. We are deeply saddened by the senseless shooting that occurred today near the end of the rally in the Kansas City Chiefs. Our thoughts are with those victims and everyone affected. We are grateful for the quick and thorough response of law enforcement and emergency personnel. So if you have 1 million plus people in the area, right? Of course, you're going to have a ton of police. There were hundreds of law enforcement officials there, not just city, but you had, state, where you had all kind of people there. You had federal entities there. That's what you do. You have to, secure this stuff. You got EMS standing by. They had all this. I mean, this popped off. Whatever happened, it happened. These people knew that there were law enforcement with coppers everywhere, everywhere. So, and with the information that they have currently, I don't think this was an active shooter kind of thing. It's not like the thing that happened in Texas when you obviously have someone who's mentally unstable goes into a building, a church in this case. This was in Houston a couple of days ago. Brings a child with them, and it's their intent to go do harm to a bunch of innocent people. That person was intercepted by two off-duty police officers. I think they were security at the church, and that threat was dealt with. Unfortunately, the 7-year-old child of the shooter was hit. Was hit in the head, and last time I checked, that child was in critical condition. But I mean, that's insane that's what goes on in this country. But obviously, a different kind of thing here. This isn't like the Vegas thing where you had the guy get a luxury suite in Vegas, in a Vegas hotel, and open fire on a concert that was going on outside. It's not that situation. I honestly believe that two people or two groups of people saw each other, and it was one of those on-site situations. One person draws their weapon, the other person draws their weapon, they start firing. And when these things happen, people get hit. And more often than not, it's not the intended targets that get hit. It's just people who are standing around. You got millions of folks. There's people everywhere, everywhere. I mean, it's like if you throw a rock, you're going to hit somebody. And these people are throwing around bullets. Let's see. Missouri gun laws make it difficult to secure events like the Super Bowl celebration, according to CNN analysts. Here's the thing, man. It's hard to, again, I don't think this has anything to do with the laws in general. Is just this is our lifestyle in America. These are rights that we have in America. And if you get two people or a group of people determined to do something, man, they're gonna be able to do it. I think that's painfully obvious. I dropped a link. I pinned a link to the top if anybody wants to jump up and just, we can have this conversation about American gun laws and the way America does business. Brother Dino's in the building. What's good, fam? Like RIP, one dead, 22 shot. Yep. Looks like two gang bust up. Yeah, that's what I was getting to. I hadn't, just listening and reading what was going on. This seems to me that some people didn't like each other. They saw each other, some on-site type things. They had their weapons and they did what they did. Like you look at this picture here. Like this is a picture of the event probably at its peak. Like I said, like 1 million plus people in the downtown area. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people right here. And keep in mind, they did this last year. The Chiefs won back-to-back Super Bowls. Back-to-back. If I'm not mistaken, this is Patrick Mahomes' third. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But, the Chiefs is a great football franchise. Look at all those people. Look at all those people. And like you look at this picture, look at this picture right here. If you look to the right, you see all these buses. These buses might be law enforcement transportation. That might be how the cops got down there, right? It could be law enforcement. You go to places like that because they're going to have people for riot control. They got law enforcement standing by. They're ready for anything as far as a riot, or you never know what might happen, right? Obviously. So law enforcement was there. Brother Dino, I hurt myself, bro. Like my shoulder is messed up. So you might see me grimacing. It's because my shoulder is jacked up. And I'm just kind of dealing with that. So events like the Kansas City Super Bowl parade are really are almost impossible to completely secure. Yeah, and that's the CNN law enforcement analyst. Of course, it's you can't do it. You look at America and you look at the way we get down over here. Probably, and if anyone knows different, they can square me away on this, but I would say probably the most dangerous places in America are it's like inside the American prison system, where people are locked down. Like you're constantly under surveillance. You have, whatever's going on in there. And People like inmate on inmate crime is crazy. They still get drugs in there, they get weapons in there, they get phones in there, they're doing their own thing. Right. So if you can't secure a building, you ain't got a chance to secure an event like that. And they're going to say it's a massive open space. Tickets are not required. There are no gates. Oh man, I didn't know they didn't have any gates. I thought they would have entry points. Um, wow, no gates, no admission areas. Um, and this is from a former deputy director of the FBI. He was talking to Wolf Blitzer. I thought they would have access points. I really did. I mean, I thought they would have access points, and at those access points, they would have metal detectors. Just have people walk through. A lot of times, that's enough. Just metal detectors is enough for at least to get people to turn around and go take their weapons back to their car. Have those big old signs, no weapons or whatever. But this thing was just wide open. Anyone can just walk up. Oh my goodness! Now you're dealing with a situation that's like really crazy because you got Kansas City ain't no joke, bro. Gangbangers, man. it's people been out there. Gangsters have been in Kansas City, man, going all the way back to Machine Gun Kelly and all them boys. Like you go all the way back to the Baker boys, Ma Baker and the Baker boys, and like that part of the Midwest has always been a haven for gangsters. And it's crazy. You know what I mean? Brother Daniel's like DL Kansas, no permit, open carry state. Here's another thing too. Like, even you can make all the rules that you want, you can make all the laws that you want. Gangsters, by definition, man, they're breaking laws, bro. So, I mean, I know people in California who have tons of weapons. Like, look what's going on in California. California and New York are two of the most restrictive states in the union. People still carry their weapons. I mean, it is what it is. You can make it as illegal as you want. There are too many guns in this country. There's nothing you can do about it, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but there's nothing. I don't see. I mean, if we wake up tomorrow and they say it's a new law, no one can have weapons in America. Okay, you think Uncle Saint is not going to have a weapon? You think Americans aren't gonna, like, Americans just gonna, oh, I guess the law says I can't have it, so I'm just gonna give up my weapons now? Nah, bro. No. As long as the government has access to weapons, Americans should have access to weapons. You know what I mean, brother John? Like, did a female drag you off stage last night? Nah, man, that's funny though. That's funny. No, I didn't get drugged off stage. Um, I've been I this started a couple of days ago. Actually, it wasn't that bad. It's just gotten progressively worse. And then last night, whenever we go on Tuesdays when we do our show, I have to prepare the venue, which just means I'm dragging stuff around. I'm moving furniture. I'm moving, heavy things. And even though I was trying not to use my injured arm, my injured shoulder, you still kind of got to use it a little bit. So that's the reason why I was in so much pain last night. I think that's the reason why I'm hurting now, because instead of resting, like, I've been resting it for a couple of days, it was getting better. But then I went and, like, you know how men are, like, I got work to do. I'm a man, got to get this done. And I really aggravated it. So I think it's probably going to take me another week to get the swelling down to get back to normal. Whew. Boy, I tell you what, though, it hurts, man. It hurts. So it gives us more background on this. Um, every town for gun safety, a nonprofit organization that focuses on gun violence prevention, ranks Missouri as 38th in the country for gun law strength, noting it has none of the fundamental gun violence prevention laws. The Givers Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence says the state has appalling weak gun laws and one of the country's highest gun death rates. So, you get into stuff like this. When you break it down, they say that, Missouri is one of the worst states in the union for this sort of thing. I wonder what their numbers look like compared to California or New York. I'm just curious. I don't know that answer. But I wonder what it is. And you have people like these folks, like these organizations out here. These are people who are just like, well, we need to get rid of all these weapons. That's not going to help or change anything. I just want to keep it 100. It's not going to help or change anything. You can be as restrictive as you want. There was a story, and I was going to talk about it on this platform. I think I I'm going to talk about it on Downrange. There was a home invasion in California. The homeowner got his weapon, defended his house, and had to engage the armed men who invaded his home. They kicked the door down. They ran in there, armed men. The homeowner had to repel them. He fired a few rounds. He scored some hits. One of the guys was there on the scene. The other guy, I think they got him in the hospital or something like that. When law enforcement showed up to put handcuffs on the homeowner, like, what are you doing? You got places in this country that's like, well, you should just be a victim, and if someone comes at you with a gun, just give them what they want. Nah, I'm not cool with that. These people, they this Giffords Law Center to prevent gun violence. You're not going to be able to do it. I don't understand why people think that a law is going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. There are laws against killing folks, man. There are laws against beating people up. There's laws against, getting weapons and, using blunt force trauma against somebody. There are laws. We got tons of laws. If laws were enough, we wouldn't have any problems, right? I don't think it's the law, man. My thing is, a lot of it has to do with mental health. A lot of it has to do with, finding solutions that actually work and finding those solutions that maybe, replicating that success elsewhere. I mean, Brother Tez is in the building. What's good, fam? Like, people can't enjoy anything anymore. Sad. That's a fact, bro. That is a fact, man. So, and just so you guys know, like I said, I pinned in the chat. I pinned a link. If you guys want to jump and say a couple things, jump on to say a couple things. I pinned it to the top. Just go to the top. It's pinned to the top, and that's the link to jump on. It's like I say, it is sad, but this is, one of those things that's uniquely American. And I'm firmly in the camp that, I'm Second Amendment friendly. I don't have a problem with common sense laws, but I do have a problem with those people who say, well, you don't need a gun. Well, you don't need a gun. Now, don't come at me with that. That I'm not good. I'm not good with that. All right. It talks about mass shootings in Missouri since 2013. There's been at least 154 mass shootings in the states since 2013, causing 582 injuries, 156 deaths. The totals don't yet reflect the February 14th shootings in Kansas City. And I think mass shooting is defined by an event involving a firearm with more than 3 people being hurt or wounded by the firearm. I think there's a definition for mass shooting. I think it's just 3 people. So, that will constitute that. But yeah, Brother Dino's right, man. And I haven't seen that part, but I will, once the investigation is done, I think it'll come out that it was just a couple dudes or a couple groups of people who had a problem with each other. It might be, might be a gangbanger thing. It might be a street thing. Sometimes it could be someone bumps into you. You got all those people there, thousands and thousands of people, and some dude accidentally bumps into you or whatever. And, somebody got a problem. Hey, man, what's wrong with you, bro? Say, excuse me, bro. You can't say, excuse me. Something like that. As simple as that. That can end in gunplay. So again, I don't like going in big crowds. I don't like going into big crowds. Like, if you catch me in a nightclub situation, I'm in the most expensive nightclubs. People are like, well, why? Because you bougie. Like, no, that really eliminates a lot of the riffraff. And those places tend to have really, really tough security measures. And they got the best bouncers. They got the best. So they don't tolerate anything. You go into these high-end joints, they don't tolerate anything, man. They see you acting a fool. They think you done had too many drinks. You got to go. They rush you out of there. So if I do go out, I go into places like that. And most of these high-end places, you get yourself a bottle, you're off to the side somewhere. It's easy to identify the exits. If something pops off, they pat down every single person. Not only do you get the metal detector, the wand, they physically pat you down. Some places won't even allow women to bring purses in. Like, you can't even bring a purse in to take that back to the car. But for those women who, those places that do allow purses, they go through the purse thoroughly. These are the things that you want to do, because this is going to help with the problem, of people bringing in their guns. I mean, it's just what it is. Brother Dino's like DL in Tampa. How often would you see someone out and about carrying a gun? All the time. All the time. It's concealed carry in this state. DeSantis changed the laws. Police officers don't like this law, but when I got here in 2020, you would at least have to take a course, a safety course, a firearms course, unless you were military. If you were military, they would waive the course. That makes sense to me to an extent. There's some people in the Navy, there's people in the Air Force, people in Space Force now. They don't handle firearms. Those people should be required to take a course. But the state's like, well, they had basic training, and in basic training, they were taught firearms. I'm like, okay, so they can get in M16 then without taking a course. But these people are trying to get 357s, 9mm, 40mm. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to get these handguns. I mean, I think they should have to take a course. I mean, even if they made me take a course to get my concealed carry, I would have taken it. No problem. It's not a problem, But here in Tampa, like you can it's not open carry. You can't have the weapon out, but you can have the weapon on your person so long as it's concealed. You just can't be a felon, a convicted felon, and some other stuff. I think if you're a foreign national, you don't have this right. I gotta check that. I think if you're a foreign national, you cannot carry a concealed weapon. Even with the Florida laws, I gotta check that though. Don't take my word on that. But if one of my buddies come out here from Atlanta, for instance, I can handle one of my weapons. We can go out. They can carry concealed. That's legal in Florida. Now, from state to state, the laws and the rules vary. In 2020, before they made this change, once I received my concealed carry permit, that permit was good in a lot of states. I could go home: Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas. Right, it was a good chunk of the country. My concealed carry permit allowed me to carry weapons in any of those states. California, nope, couldn't do it. You only concealed carry with, back then. I don't know if they changed, and I doubt if they have. You can only conceal carry with California permits. I think it's the same for New York. There's some other states. So, but there were a lot of states that would recognize the fact that you have a Florida concealed carry permit, and will allow you to carry in their state as well. But yeah, there's a lot of people. A lot of folks think that every citizen in Florida or the U.S. is carrying a concealed weapon. That's not the case. Even like a place in Florida, most people don't have weapons on them. I mean, I know when I answered your question, I'm like, yeah, a lot of people have guns. You don't see them because it's concealed carry. I mean, I know how to look, you know, but it's not a huge number. I mean, I don't know why more people don't carry, but a lot of people will put their weapons in their car. So you have that. They won't carry it on their person. They'll just leave it in their car, which I think is a very, very bad idea. But it's not like the Wild West where you go outside and everyone has a gun on their hip. But there are a lot of people with weapons. Like when you go into privately owned stores and businesses, that's when you tend to see more people carrying their weapons. Like a guy has a convenience store or something like that. Best believe they're going to be armed, because that's a deterrent to petty robbery. People working in liquor stores, especially, they're armed, that kind of thing. Anyone like jewelry store owners, they're armed, stuff like that. If you're someone who is maybe, controversial or something like that, like if you're a radio host or like a talk show host or something like that, and you have some quote unquote enemies out there, you have people sending you death threats, I would imagine that person is armed. But not everyone. Not everyone. No, because I was thinking about your question. So yeah, man, like, how often would you see someone out and about carrying a gun? They're concealed here, but I can look and tell. Sometimes people are wearing shorts or a shirt that's too short. They'll reach up to check something on the shelf and you can see their weapon. Sometimes the shirt is too tight. You can see their weapon. But again, it's I know where to look, right? So, but it's not everyone. And then you never know what a woman's carrying in her purse. It just, you just don't know what she has in there. Brother Dino, question. You're in the state and a robber pulls out his gun. Oh, I'm in the store and a robber pulls out his gun. What is legal for you to do? I tell people, like, if I'm in that situation, I'm not I'm not gonna be John Wayne or Johnny Rambo. I'm nobody's hero. If I'm in that situation, I'm gonna seek some sort of cover. I'm trying to get out of that situation. I'm not trying to be there. If someone draws their weapon and they proceed to rob the store, and I don't have to engage that person, I'm not gonna engage that person. That's not my job. That's not my responsibility. Once you draw your weapon and you start firing, bullets, you're responsible for where those bullets go, and you don't get the same protection as law enforcement. So, but you do have the right to protect yourself and protect others. So let's say the guy starts shooting. Well, okay, maybe I have to engage this dude because he's not gonna just stop with the one person he's firing at. He might start firing at other people. Maybe I got to engage this dude. But if I'm in a big grocery store, some guys run in with military grade weapons, and I can get out the back door, I'm going out the back door. This is not my responsibility. I'm gonna call law enforcement, give them as much information as I can, and let them deal with what they deal with. If these guys run in and right away they start firing at people, and I'm, me included, then I'm gonna draw my weapon. I'm gonna return fire. And normally, when you do that, they run. That's another thing about people who do these crimes. The moment you return fire, they turn and run. They're not trained. They're not professionals. They're not there, like they're not Sicario or something like that. They're not like there to hit a certain target. Once you fire at them with your whatever you carrying, they tend to turn and run. Especially if you hit one of them, they will leave each other. There's like there's definitely no honor amongst thieves when the way these guys get down. But if you fire at someone and they don't run, if you fire at someone and now they got your attention and they're coming at you, got to understand they came for a firefight. They have superior fire power. They're gonna have more rounds. Me, I'm walking around with whatever weapon I have on, and maybe like if I'm carrying a magazine fed weapon, I'll have that weapon, one of the Glocks or something like that, and I'll have a backup magazine. That's it. That's all I got. Someone who's coming out here and they know what they're doing and they mean to do someone harm, they're gonna have hundreds of rounds, hundreds. And that's just a bad situation. You don't want to find yourself in a firefight and you have a sidearm and they have something shoulder fired. This is a bad situation to be in. So I'm not trying to save the day. I don't want to deal with that at all. That's not my job. That's not what I'm there for. But I will step up if deadly force is being used and I can't get away. Like they're firing at folks. I'm one of the people there. They're gonna fire at me. So I will definitely fire. I will return fire. But yeah, I guess that's my answer. Kind of long-winded, long-winded answer for you. So that's what I would do if I were in the store. Someone came in to rob the store. I'll let them take the money and go. I'm not trying to do anything. But if that person just starts randomly firing at people, then I would draw my weapon and engage that person if I can't get away. Um, like try a hot bath with salts. Yes, that's definitely. Thank you, brother. That's on the man. That's on the agenda because it's the throb. I hate this type of pain. It's the throb and pain. Oh, bro, and it flares up. So I'll be sitting down. I'm like, okay, and then all of a sudden it'll flare up. I'll start getting the shooting pains for a while, and then it'll subside, and then it'll go back to the throbbing. Sucks. I've been here before. So yeah, so at least 22 people have had gunshot injuries so far. The police chief said, and some of the victims were children. That's always sad. That's always sad, man. So and this was an hour and 6 minutes ago. Authorities detained three people and the investigation continues. Police, and that's what the police chief is saying. Three people have been detained and an active investigation is ongoing into the deadly shooting Wednesday at the Kansas City Super Bowl celebrations, according to Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves. Um, a video has circulated which shows some fans tackling someone. She said at the news conference authorities are trying to determine if one of the detained individuals is the same person featured in the video. She added that authorities are still working to identify uh, the deceased victim. Hey, bro, this is so apparently, and that's another thing too, man. You get into a sea of people like that, man. You start firing. You only have so many rounds, and then these people they know what they're doing in the sense that they're looking for one person. They're not trying to hurt innocent people, but they're not thinking either. So they start firing and hurting. So it's easy for you to get jumped by a bunch of folks. People see you, they tackle you, they're gonna hold on, they get that weapon away from you. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna rough you up. It's gonna be all that kind of stuff, man. Um, which is crazy. Uh, See if we can't find that video on YouTube. Nah, I can't say anything. Just New York Post stuff, and anything I post will probably get shut down anyway. Yeah, they're still trying to figure this out. They're still trying to figure this out. It's just a bunch of news. You got tons of footage of people being carted away by EMT. You got people who are trying to, find cover. Um, yeah. I mean, this sort of thing really does suck, y'all. I don't know. I don't know the answer, but I am, like I said, I'm still a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I'm not trying to give up weapons. I'm sorry. And the thing is this: even if you made the law of the land that you can't have weapons, people will still have them. It's just too many guns in America. Right? The American government doesn't even know how many guns are here. It's too many guns in America, y'all. Too many guns. So yeah, yeah. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I wasn't gonna jump on today. Obviously, the shoulder is killing me. Like, it's absolutely killing me, guys. I wasn't gonna jump on, but I just saw this thing and I'm like, man, I gotta say something, And again, we just recently, just a few days ago, we had that incident in Houston, Texas, at the church, Joel Osteen's church, where a person who has, apparently has a history of mental illness and have documented cases, and she took her child with her to a place where she plans on doing a active shooter event and got her child hurt. That's one of the things. Like, well, how did she even have access to her child? I mean, that's more things. As that investigation rolls on, they're going to get the answers to that. But I will say this: I am definitely open to common sense laws. I think that red flag laws are definitely needed. I don't have a problem with that at all. Here in Florida, the police will come take your guns. Like, if you go do something, or if you make a violent threat, or someone calls with concerns like, hey, I think this person is not stable. He has a lot of guns. I'm worried. Law enforcement will come and take your weapons. They'll take them. Now, they'll give them back, but they'll take your weapons. You have to go get evaluated, go through a process. You got to jump through some hoops. If you do everything and you check out, then they'll return your weapons. So Florida does take that sort of thing serious, but at the same time, this is a state where it's one of the easiest, most lax gun laws in the country. One of them, and like I said, it is what it is. And Brother Dino, like, said to be 400 million guns in America, bro. Those are the ones that they know about. Think about that. Those are manufactured weapons that are registered and they know about, man. There's another thing, the phenomena of ghost guns. We have no idea how many weapons are here, how many guns, man. People are 3D printing guns that are very effective, man. Semi-automatic weapons that work. That work. Like I said, it was recently, I want to say within a month or so ago, there was an arrest of a couple guys in New York who were manufacturing guns. And then you can buy weapons in pieces and put them together. The government doesn't track that. So if there's 400 million guns in America that the government is aware of, how many guns are in America that they don't know about? It could be another 400 million, bro. You know what I mean? It could be another 100 million, 50 million. But just think about that. There's so many weapons. And if you outlaw weapons altogether, then you'll drive up the price of weapons. And the guys who make these guns, the ATF goes after these dudes all the time. They go after these guys who are making these guns. It is what it is. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm open to suggestions. But as far as we're just going to, those people out there who believe, well, we're just going to take guns. You don't need guns anyway. Like, all right, you don't need them. Then you don't have them. That's fine. I want my weapons. I'm sorry, I want my weapons. If something goes bad, I have a fighting chance of surviving. Period. If you're in a situation and you have some sort of conflict, or you're trying to get what you need for you and your family, and you're facing a dude who has a weapon and you don't have a weapon, well, guess what? You're probably going to lose that conflict. In that situation, I'd rather be the guy with the weapon. Point blank, period. I tip my hat to our cousins over in UK. Law enforcement walks around without weapons. I mean, they have armed police, but I like the cops are out there, and I think it's brave that they're out there, no weapons, and they're dealing with folks. Man, that's outstanding. But here, oh man, everybody's armed, bro. Everybody's armed. It's like, rest there, brother. Don't sleep on that shoulder. Yeah, I know, man. And it's one of those pains where even if I lie down, I think it's the nerves. Even if I lie down, it just the pain increases. I can't even touch it like in this area. I guess it's really bad. But again, I was doing stuff I shouldn't have been doing yesterday, moving stuff around and all that. I shouldn't have done that. I did not help myself. That's what I get for being a knucklehead. You know what I mean? This is for me.
You big dummy.
I was definitely a big dummy, and I knew it. I'm like, man, this is gonna hurt tomorrow. And it did. And it did. But we had a great show. We had a couple setbacks. We had some folks who couldn't make it for some very good reason they couldn't make it, but we were able to put the show together, and we were able to get Backup Comics in there, man. We had a good time. It was a really good show, man. Shout out to Cam Bertrand. He came through, saved the day, man. And Cam was one of the funniest comics in America right now. He's out of Tampa. He was on America's Got Talent, and he's just out doing his thing, man. It's just a matter of time before you guys see him on the big stages from Sea to Shining Sea. So Sea to Shining Sea. So shout out to Cam. Whew. But yeah, man. This is crazy. He was like, yeah, next Tuesday show you're gonna need Muscle to help out. Yep, and we got it there too. Like my partner was there, man. Darren is the guy in charge, really. Like I'm like his sergeant major, man. He's like the commander. And he was like, man, I'll take care of that. He was doing some other stuff. I'm like, nah, bro, you know how men get, man. Like, no, I got it, bro. I got it. We got to be useful. We're men. I can't just sit back and let everybody else do the work. So, but this time next week, I should be good. That's a whole week of me just relaxing. I'm not doing anything. I'm just taking it easy. Like you said, soaking with salt in the tub, and also what Miss A Lady was saying, ice and heat. I'll be fine. I'll definitely be fine. I'll be ready to go. Might even get myself a massage once this stops hurting. get a little massage or whatever. You get stress adds to that too. You stress out over other things. People handle stress differently. So like maybe my stuff was all tense up, whatever. So I've been here before. I'm glad it's in this area and not in my neck. I've had it in my neck to where I couldn't move, couldn't drive, couldn't look. That was the worst, bro. And it was bad. I had to go to the emergency room for that one. That was decades ago, but I was given muscle relaxant, Vicodin, which I took one Vicodin. I'm like, I'm never taking those type medications again. I took one Vicodin, bro. I couldn't feel nothing. I'm like, yeah, nah, this is too powerful. I see why people get stuck on, hooked on, heavy opiates, man. Vicodin was no joke. And that was, God, man, that was the early 2000s. They actually were thinking about giving me a shot directly into my muscles to loosen them up. I don't know what I had done. I mean, I was an air traffic controller. There was a lot going on. It was like a real stressful time. And it's just like my shoulders locked up. I couldn't move. It hurt so much. It was the same thing. It was the exact same pain. It was just in my neck, bro. And it affected everything, every move I made, man. I was like, oh, it hurt. You know what I mean? At least here, it's kind of isolated to the shoulder. I could feel the pain through my biceps and triceps, even down into my fingers. So I think it's nerve. It might be a little nerve damage in there. And then like in my upper back a little bit, I can feel it. So at least I know what I'm dealing with. You know what I mean? I know what I'm dealing with, bro. But yeah, man, you hate seeing these things, and this isn't the last event. Like this doesn't appear to be, some premeditated thing where people go in with weapons and they want to hurt innocent folks. I really believe, like Brother Dino said, this was two people or two groups of people who saw each other, and it was on one of those on-site things. Like the streets made it to the celebration. That's what it is. the streets made it to the celebration. And this thing was free. People got to come in. There was no entry points, which blew my mind. I can't believe they were having an event like that with no entry points. That's just begging for trouble. But they've probably been doing this so often. They did it last year and went without a hitch. So they probably figured it'll be fine this year. I can't believe they didn't have any entry points. And then that little bit I said about going to high-end places that charge a lot to get in and have heavy security, that really eliminates a lot of the riffraff. You don't have these type issues in high-end clubs. You have people who are like kind of celebrities or local celebrities, have a little bit of money. They might get in there and act up, but everyone's been searched. No one has weapons. And you got one time to mess up in a club, a big high-end club. They don't care who you are. You got one time to mess up. They're not letting you back in ever. They don't need your money. They're just like, bro, we don't need the problems, man, because you dealing with the upper tier. You come in here acting like a lower tier dude, and you can go to the lower tier clubs. Don't do that here. So, you know, if I'm in a place like Miami, people are like, hey, let's go to a strip club. You know, and they're like, where you want to go? Let's go to King of Diamonds. Like, man, I'm not going there. I'm not going to a hood spot, bro. People get shot up at hood spots. We can go to 11. You know what I mean? We can go to Booby Trap on the River. We can go stuff like that. Maybe Tootsie's. Maybe Tootsie's isn't bad. Yeah, we can go to Tootsie's, but I'm not going to these little hood spots, bro. You know what I mean? It's especially north, like in certain parts of Miami. Like, man, you must be out your mind. You want me to go in there? No, sir. No, sir. I've been in a couple. Like, They're basically just holding the wall up. They're dive bars with girls walking around on the stage. That's basically all it is. And some people love that. I can't. And if you catch me in a place like that, trust me, I'm in there with a team. I'm in there with a team. I'm in there with them dudes. Like, yeah, we ain't got no problems. I'm with them. Oh, okay. My bad, bro. I didn't know you was them. Yeah, I'm with them. I'm with them guys. I'm with the plug. If I'm in a place like that, I'm with the plug. That means I'm in there with security. We doing what we do. And that's like in the middle of the day. You'll never get me in there. Sun's down. Oh, hell no, Billy. I ain't going in there. You know, the thing is in America, you got to think about what you're doing. You got to think about where you're going. Safety first. Safety first. We didn't think about these things when we were young. We were out there in the streets, man. We didn't care. We was right in the mix all the time. Right. And guess what? When it got bad, people started shooting. We was right there. Right. I don't want to deal with that as an old man. There's people my age to be out there trying to, let's go down. That blows. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't. A parade for it. And they probably, I wonder if they're going to do another parade for any of the professional franchises in Kansas City. I wonder. Or will the NFL begin to crack down nationwide? I wonder how they're going to handle this, you know, because when you say, oh, you know, the city didn't have any checkpoints, they didn't have any entry points, and this, that costs a lot of money. You know, I think it was reported there were hundreds of police officers there, hundreds. You know, they had to get paid. That's overtime. Right? It costs money to erect those barriers. Someone has to man those entry points. Right? I mean, all that costs money. So, you know, and then when this is all over, people are going to start getting mad. And what do people do in America? They sue. So who they're going to sue? They're going to sue the NFL. They're going to sue the city, you know, Kansas City. They're going to sue the state of Missouri. They're going to try to sue the federal government. They're just looking for money. You know, lawyers like sue everybody. You know, most people are going to settle. So what's the NFL going to do moving forward? I'm pretty sure they're going to be having these talks. And it's not just something that's like, you know, unique to the NFL. You know, NBA does it. Major League Baseball does it. Hockey. There's always a parade. If you win, there's always a parade. So you're going to have to secure these parades, which means you're going to have to spend money. I wonder how that's going to work. Florida clubs allow guns in? No, they don't. They do not. That is, you cannot do that. Even if you carry concealed, like even when they had the permits, there are certain establishments in which you cannot carry your weapon. And then there are, you know, of course, if you're law enforcement or whatever, you have to worry about that gets ways. But I can't go into a bar, just a bar and carry. I can't do it. It's illegal. People do it anyway, but I mean, I won't do it. And then it kind of gets gray. Like if you go into a restaurant that has a bar, the way I understand the rule is I can go, but I can't sit at the bar. Even though it's the restaurant, I'm there for dinner, I can't sit at the bar. I have to get a table and sit down and eat or whatever. So I mean, there are laws in there, man. And every state is different. But yeah, you can't carry, but I'm sure there are exceptions, like, if you're private security, you're bonded and all that, if you're law enforcement, you know what I mean? Of course they can carry wherever, the feds, the state, they can carry wherever, but there are rules in there, man. Like, it's not like Dodge City, bro. It's not like just willy-nilly go out there and do your thing. All right. You cannot ban street parades. They had 800 police on duty. Yeah, I think that it's not that they can ban them. It's just, why would the NFL, if the NFL has too much exposure, they're not going to want to deal with it. And the city has to take better precautionary measures now that this has happened. No more just wide open. You're going to have entry points and exit points. There's going to be metal detectors and stuff like that. They're going to have to do something. They can't, let's say Kansas City or some other team. Let's say the Kansas City Royals wins the World Series, right? They're going to go right to the same spot and have the parade and have the celebration in the exact same spot. You think they're going to do it a little bit differently? The amount of police presence, I think was decent. You got 800 cops. Okay, cool. Whatever they had. But as far as crowd control and as far as, checking for weapons, they're going to need entry and exit points, it can be done. It's not difficult. It can be done. It just costs a lot of money to do it, which means you're going to need more people, non-law enforcement types, like event personnel, to man those entry and exit points. It's like if you go see a football game, college or NFL game here in Tampa, that's a huge police presence. And they're walking around with, like, they're ready. They have what they need. Canines, they have the weapons that they need. Yeah. They have military grade weapons. Law enforcement's walking around. They're cool. And I'm fingers crossed that they got, more enhanced training because they're carrying these weapons. And then you have entry points, and law enforcement is moving around, like, as far as the parking areas. And then once you move, you transition from the parking areas to, like, the ticket areas against the stadium. And of course they're looking through your purse if you're a female. They had a Comic-Con type event here. I think it's called the Tampa Comic Book Festival. I went a couple years ago. Same thing. You have event staff manning the entrance and exit points, augmented by maybe an officer or two. So if you have, like, an area where there are 5 points of entry, there might be 2 cops, but the event staff wearing, like, yellow windbreakers or something, they'll be checking and ask you to walk through the security checkpoint. And that's where you'll see the officers at the security checkpoints, where they're checking for weapons, and then you have more officers kind of just moving around the event. And then you have officers in those buses, the quick reaction force type thing. It's just, I'm surprised that they didn't have entry and exit points at this parade. I'm just surprised. But I believe they're definitely they're gonna change the way they do business. Every city is gonna look at their security measures when it comes to these celebrations. I guarantee it. I did see that, bro. Like, did I see PBD on Bill Maher's podcast? I did see that. I was hoping that that conversation would have been better. I like Bill Maher's HBO program more than I like his Club Random thing. Bill is, like, smoking a lot of weed and he's drinking when he's having these conversations with folks. And there was a point in that conversation with PBD. Bill Maher asked PBD what it was like for him, what were his memories of Iran and getting out of Iran. And he asked the question, but then he never let PBD answer. And there was a couple moments like that throughout the show, throughout that interview, where it was like, man, we could have gotten some, a good conversation, maybe got the answers from Pat. But Bill Maher, his high would drift off to something else. And I ain't got no problem with marijuana, guys. Do what you want to do, smoke what you want to smoke. But if you compare Club Random to Real Time with Bill Maher, you see the difference. One is much more professional. Bill Maher definitely needs that producer in his ear. In that PBD broadcast interview, PBD was asking Bill Maher for, hey, what's what are you drinking there? He's like, "Oh, I'm drinking tequila." Patrick Bet-David is not a drinker. Right? He's not really a drinker. He's not a anti-drinking guy. Like if he wants to have a drink, he'll have a drink. And I asked him too, like, "Hey man, he's like, I'm not a real big drinker. Like, but if I do drink, I'll have a Moscow." I think he said, did he say a Moscow Mule? Like he'll drink whiskeys. I think he said Moscow Mule. I can't. It's out there. It's the same answer he gave to somebody's and when someone was interviewing him. The question came up. He gave the exact same answer. He wasn't lying. But he was like, yeah, I'll have a drink or two, whatever. It's not a big thing. He wanted to have a drink of Bill Maher's tequila. And Bill Maher was like, "Oh, do you want ice?" He's like, "No." I know why he didn't want ice, because Bill Maher likes to just reach in there. He reaches into the ice bucket with his hand. I wouldn't want that ice either. Bill Maher just, yeah, like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want no ice." And like PBD had water. He finished. He he guzzled the water down. And Bill Maher went to pour him tequila, but then he forgot. He had the tequila bottle in his hand and he forgot. He put the tequila down, and it was, I don't know, 40 minutes went by before he actually got before he got the drink or whatever. And I think they cut that part up. It was like a jump cut. I think they might have cut it up. But I like real time with Bill Maher. When he interviewed folks, when he had did you see his real time with Bill Maher when he had Killer Mike on there, bro? This was before Killer Mike got arrested. If you haven't checked that out, man, type in Killer Mike in your search engine. Killer Mike interview or Killer Mike Bill Maher, and it'll come out because Governor Sununu was on there, and this was the overtime. So after the show, they'll bring the guests out, and all the guests will sit there and talk. And Killer Mike was talking about reparations, and he was talking about politics in America. It was a very, very good segment. I wish they could have committed 30, 45 minutes to it. Because I want to do a show about reparations. I have my own ideas on reparations. If it were to happen, how I would do it. I doubt if it ever happens. But bro, it was a really good. If you haven't seen that, bro, check it out. Check it out. And he's like, I should check out an interview with Iran's last king or ruler. He was so amazing. Talking about the Shah of Iran. If that's what we're talking about, like the Shah, that was the era in which PBD grew up. And that's what they were talking about. And they kind of Bill Maher didn't give PBD an opportunity to give his answer. Like PBD was like 10 years old when they had to flee Iran. So man, that was a great opportunity lost. That was terrible. He's like, his set cheers look stupid. Yeah, man. I mean, he used to do it at a bar in his basement. Like they're trying to figure that thing out. And I think he only did that because of the writer's strike and he couldn't do his show. And then once he started it, I guess he feels he's stuck doing it. I mean, they get big numbers. It probably brings in a little bit of income. So it's like, why not do it? He's getting sponsors and all that. So it probably makes sense. But I don't really like it. It depends on who he's interviewing. When he interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy, that was one worth watching. I don't know if you saw that. And I mean, it's the way he was talking. You could tell he just doesn't take Vivek Ramaswamy serious. I think most people should not take that dude serious. And he was very dismissive. Like, come on, like really get rid of the FBI. Like the stuff that he was saying. And Vivek was doing his hardest to do that Vivek thing. And Bill Maher was just sitting there smoking and laughing. I thought that was a pretty interesting interview. But yeah, Brother Dino don't like them chairs. DNA testing for millions. I cannot see it happening. DNA testing for millions. What are we talking about now? DNA testing for millions. That brings up all kind of issues in America. I mean, you don't have a right to my DNA in this country. Not unless we change the way we do business in America. That I don't agree with that at all. And you can get people's DNA without them knowing easily. You can easily get people's DNA. Like, law enforcement can get my DNA and I not even know it. I can have a bottle, drink the bottle, put the bottle down. That bottle was when I was drinking. My DNA is on that. And the way that they're gathering DNA is changing so rapidly. They're at a point now where they can get my DNA out of this filter that I have on the microphone. They can get my DNA out of that. So they need less and less DNA to get these positive hits. So yeah, man. Reparations. I don't know how they would do the reparations. Because here's my thing. Whenever I talk about reparations, I always started with this. I don't know how you will be able to determine who is eligible. I always start with that. That process would be way above me. That would take a whole bunch of thought to get there. I don't know how. And in my case, pretty easy. My family's already done the work. I know I'm descended from slaves. I could take you to the plantation, all that. We've done the work. My family did the work back in the 70s and 80s. We know where we came from. So if you came to something like that, and it's like, if reparations were a thing, of course you're gonna have to submit your DNA. Um, but man, it'll be very difficult to, you know, to establish who is eligible and at what extent. It's like, well, are you 100% eligible? Are you 50% eligible? Are you a quarter eligible? Like, well, I'm a descendant from a slave, but it was like, yeah, but your ancestor, took, took it from, forcefully took it from my ancestor, and then you were born, your ancestors were born. I guess, it's like, okay, is that person eligible? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like, oh man, but that's another problem. But if you are going to establish reparations, I have an idea for that. We're going to do a show on that. I have an idea for it that I think would be great. Brother Michael's in the building. What's good, fam? So you guys are going to see me like doing all this and closing my eyes. Like I look like I'm in pain. That's because I am. My shoulder is messed up. My shoulder's really messed up right now. So that's what it is. Don't think that I'm seeing Brother Mike and I'm like, oh no, I'm hurting. I'm hurting right now. Good to see you. Brother D Mac is in the building as well. What's good, fam? Only got one arm. I can't even lift my left hand to work the sound equipment here. Like I got a soundboard right here. So I'm lifting my right hand and reaching over to do this. What normally I would do it with my left. And it's hard to type. It's all, you can't hit the cap locks, and man, it's crazy, bro. Brother D Mac is saying actually it wouldn't. And we were talking, Luke, when we were talking about reparations. I think the US Japanese, World War II, I think the US Japanese got reparations, not sure. Like Japanese Americans who were rounded up and put in internment camps, right? Along with German and Italian Americans. But the Japanese Americans really bore the brunt of that in World War II. I'm no expert. I've read a couple books and I've seen some documentaries. And there are stories out there where they lost everything. So they were rounded up, forcibly removed from their lives. And a lot of this was on the West Coast, of course, because that's where the largest populations of, especially Japanese Americans were, going into World War II. They put them in internment camps, right? While their sons went off to fight the Germans, the Nisei, went off to fight and fought with distinction. They were over in Europe and in, Italy and Africa fighting, while their parents were back home and their brothers and sisters were being interred in these camps, treated like, prisoners. And the biggest thing with that was small business owners and stuff like that. They lost their businesses, man. They lost their property. They lost their land. And that's like the biggest thing with that. Now, I don't know if they got quote unquote, I can't hold up both, so like quote unquote reparations, but the government had, I think the government made attempts to make them whole, but I don't know. You know what? That'll be good for the show. We could talk about reparations, and we could talk about Native Americans. We could talk about Japanese Americans, and we could talk about African Americans, Black people. That's it. That's the last piece I needed. Thank y'all so much. We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna try to get that going next week. We're gonna talk about that. Let's talk about, the different groups in which the American government has, tried to make whole after doing, after a wrong. But what they did to the Japanese Americans was just insane. Insane. People lost their land, lost their property, never got it back. To my knowledge. It's just crazy. And like your brother D-Mac is saying, it like the whole thing with reparations and DNA, I mean, it could definitely be done. But what I want to talk about will be twofold. We'll talk about the people who were affected and what groups of people has the American government tried to make whole. And then because Killer Mike, he touched on that as well. And then we'll talk about how it could be done. My big thing is it shouldn't be any cash payments in that in my estimation. It shouldn't be. And Killer Mike thinks there should be. I don't know. I mean, that's definitely the conversation going on in America. Reparations. It wouldn't cost America that much money, especially when you look at the kind of money that America kicks out to other people all the time, other nations and whatnot. I mean, you look at what's the latest number to Ukraine? 91 billion. And I'm all for Ukraine. Standing up to Russia and dealing with Russia, and dealing with Putin. I'm all for that. But America spends a lot of money overseas, and it's still really a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of money we spend on military. So, yeah, we could definitely have that conversation. That'd be a good grown-up talk. Good grown-up talk. Mr. Spock got locked up with his family. Leonard Nimoy, did he? No, not Leonard Nimoy. Is that Leonard Nimoy? Yeah, Leonard Nimoy. That's Mr. Spock. Sulu. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I like Sulu. Yeah. Sulu did. God, I forget what is his name? I forget his name. But yeah, that's something, man. He got locked up with his family. And think about it, if he had an older brother, his brother would have been out fighting the Germans. That's insane what America could do, man. We make these bad decisions, man. We make bad decisions, bro. Said the Russians have Gurkhas fighting now. Really, more me, they couldn't escape now with no payments if killed. Putin has a problem, man. He has an issue over there. So long as America keeps, funding the Ukrainians are going to, keep Russia at bay. And it's just a matter of time before the Russian people get tired of this. I mean, they're already 2 years in, right? It's insane. Over 2 years, 3 years, two, it's at least 2 years. That's insane. 2 winters. Yeah, it's 2 years, man. Yeah. Definitely have to talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that on Downrange. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I gotta go do something. My shoulder's starting to kill me right now, bro. I gotta wrap this up. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what happened in Kansas City today. I'm gonna continue to watch this. It's horrible. This isn't the last one. This wasn't an active shooter event. Apparently, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it was just people who had a problem with each other and they started popping at each other. And when that happens, innocent bystanders get hit, especially when you have like up to 1 million people in the downtown area. Thousands and thousands of people were in this one spot. God, it's sad, man. It's sad, but that's life in America right now. Think about what you're doing out there, y'all. Think about what you are doing. Think about where you're going. Safety first. In America, be thinking safety. Don't think it's all good. Don't think it's easy. Be thinking safety wherever you go. You go into a place, look for a way out. Know your way in, know the ways out. If you can, get close to the exit. If you can, if you have a choice, if they ask you to seat you somewhere and you see the exit, like, yeah, seat me over there by the rear exit. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily want to sit by the main exit because something goes down, they might come in that main exit. So I don't know. It's just crazy. Pay attention to your environment. Pay attention to what's going on. If things get bad and people start popping off rounds, don't just get up and start running. Think your way out of the situation. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you, brother. I'm definitely going to try to take it easy, man. Appreciate it, bro. All the best to you as well. I will definitely be back tomorrow. If anything, I'll just do something and upload it. Just I won't go live. Maybe I'll just upload it. I want to talk about Cold Approach game versus the Social Circle game. Michael Surtain is talking about this a lot with some guy who's always talking about Cold Approach. My take on both, I'm familiar with both. My take is Michael Surtain's approach is way better, especially for guys who have no experience. But hopefully we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Y'all stay safe. Y'all be easy, bro. Hearts and prayers goes out to those people affected by this latest event in Kansas City. It is what it is, man. I'm definitely gonna watch Oppenheimer. I might watch it tonight. Like, it is what it is. I feel my heart goes out to those people. And I'll talk to y'all tomorrow, man. I'm DL Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.